Hey everyone, it's Steve here, the DJ Lab, and I'm going to show you all the DJ gear that I've ever owned, and I'm going to tell you which one I liked best out of all of them. So let's get right into this thing. First on the bat, the Stanton SCS4 DJ is what started it all for me, and it's funny because this thing was an all-in-one controller. An all-in-one DJ system. It wasn't even a controller. It did not require a laptop or anything. You literally plugged your drive in, it analyzed, loaded up. It had color waveform. This was back in the day, and I DJ'd out a lot with this thing. And people with CDJs would come up all the time going, wow, man. Like, I had a hard drive plugged into this thing. A keyboard even for searching. It worked pretty well. The platters were maybe a little bit... I don't want to say that they were garbage, but they kind of were, to be honest. But you know what? It did the job and did it not too bad. Then we went over to the Novation Twitch. I think this is running Scratch, Serato Scratch, or I don't even know what they called. No, was it called? Itch? Yeah, Serato Itch, I think it was called. Yeah, this was the Twitch controller for Serato Itch. This is before, there was Scratch Live, there was Itch, and then they combined the two. And this thing had no jog wheels, had this touch strip thing, and it was pretty cool. You know what I mean? It had a nice little sound card in it. Then I moved on to the Traktor S4, and Traktor was crazy. This thing just blew everything out of the water. I could do so much with it. I threw on the F1 controllers and an X1 controller. I had machine hooked up to this thing. Like, I was in Traktor deep for a while. You know what? Traktor really, to this day, I'd have to say Traktor's right up there. I haven't used it in a long time, but it can do pretty much everything back then that we're doing now with all the new stuff. So that was a great controller. It felt cheap, but let me tell you, it was built solid. It really was a great controller. It had no issues, never broke down on me. Then I had this for a short time too, the American Audio VMS4, and this thing was built like a tank. I mean, it was super solid. I worked this thing with Virtual DJ. I forget. I think it was just Virtual DJ I had this thing working with back in the day. I didn't have it for a long time, but I was using it for a while there, playing around with it. It had touch strips. It had a mouse pad built in. That was pretty innovative. We don't have that anymore. It had a mouse pad built into the whole system. Lots of buttons and knobs. Interesting controller for sure. Then I got my CDJ 2000. It's funny, when I got my CDJ 2000 system, I initially had only one and had it running with the S4 plugged into a line input for a long time. And then I eventually got a second one, and then eventually got a DJM 900 Nexus mixer to go with it. In the meantime, in amongst all of that, I picked up a DDJ SX. So this was the original. This was Pioneer's kind of original controller, I think. One of the original ones that was very much kind of in the style of a 900 Nexus mixer in some aspects. And this thing this is one of the best controls out there. I DJ'd a lot with this thing. It was great. I used it with Serato, and I loved the layout of it. I could use this thing in my sleep. It had literally everything you could possibly ever need in a controller. Then I switched it over and got myself an SX2. SX2, they had RGB pads. They added a couple more little buttons to do few extra tricks, but it was as good as the first one. You know what I mean? I think it was a better sound card maybe. I don't know. Overall, it was still a great controller as well too. Then we had the Roland DJ 808. That thing was super cool. It worked with Serato. It had an 808, as you can see, built into it. I didn't have it for a super long period of time. I never really utilized a drum machine like some people might have. And the look and layout of it was okay, I guess. But it was a bit too much, you know what I mean? Some guys love this thing because, adding the drum machine and stuff. I thought it'd be cool. Wasn't quite as cool as I thought, but still, it was decent. Then somewhere in the mix, and this isn't in exact order because I had so many systems at the same time right? I had an NS7 too, and that NS7 too was amazing. You know what I mean? Like motorized jog wheels on this thing, lots of like touch controls on your kills for your EQ. The pads were NPC pads. This thing was another tank, man. It was so heavy, at least 30 pounds, I'm sure. Great system. Unfortunately, though, sound card wasn't as good as what we have nowadays, but at the time, it was good. A lot of guys are still rocking this to this day because those motorized platters are really nice. Then I got that's the DDJ 1000 using Record Box. Another amazing controller, man. I really miss that one a lot too because it had CDJ style jog wheels, had all the information in the middle. This is very reminiscent of the way the jog wheels turned out for an XDJ XZ. This ran Record Box, and then they made another version, the SRT, that ran Serato. I'll never understand why these guys didn't just make one unit that could do both. Kind of would have made more sense. It's kind of like the 900 Nexus and the SRT. Eventually, they made the club kit so that Serato could use the Nexus, and the 900 SRT became completely obsolete. You couldn't even give that shit away. So this was another great controller that had everything. But there were some things missing on this thing that the DDJ SX2 had. Like some of the browse knob features, the they'll sort things. Just a few small details, nothing major. And then we got into the Denon system with the 1800 mixer, which was a pretty nice mixer. It sounded really nice. The effects were a little bit weak. The Denon SC 5000s, I had them here for like about a year. I really like the 5000s. They're pretty innovative. You know what? Things were a bit buggy with the engine software in the beginning, but Denon kept on working on stuff, and looked cool. The system worked really well together. They had dual layer, so you could run 4 decks with only 2 units. So that was a really cool system as well. And then got into the XDJ 1000 MK2s, had them with a DJM 900 Nexus mixer. Really like these players. They replaced my CDJ 2000s. They had a bigger screen. They were nice. They weren't like pro gear, but it was like almost as good. It was very much prosumer. Of course, had them running with that 900 Nexus. 900 Nexus, great mixer. Then I played around with the 2000 Nexus for a short period of time before I got rid of it. And I think I was just selling it for someone. It wasn't really mine. That's why I had it for a short period of time. You had like a EQ like this, what was a 7-band crossover on the frequencies. It could do all kinds of crazy shit. Truth is, had like the RMX system kind of built into it. It was such overkill, nobody knew how to use it. Unless you owned one, and even the people who owned it barely knew how to use the damn thing because it was so different than a 900 Nexus. Nobody learned, and in a club, it was kind of useless. Then we get into the 900 Nexus 2, still one of my favorite mixers. The effects on this thing are top-notch. Like, they just don't get much better. You got the X-Pad there. You could hook up your iPhone, record straight to the DJM Record app. 2 USB inputs. This thing's built like a tank. It's still, to this day, you're going to find this basically at almost every club if they don't have a V10. So that was really nice. Then we got into the CDJ 3000s, right? I had them for a year, and I had them alongside a pair of SC 6000s at the time. So I had the Denon system and the Pioneer system. These are really nice. They didn't really do any big tricks. Like, there was nothing super special. They added hot cues. I really never enjoyed the placement of where the hot cues were or how they made the buttons, and the fact those buttons could only do hot cues. There was no rolls. There was no other features. It was just straight CDJ style, you know what I mean, with a few extra buttons. Sound quality is really good on this thing. Build quality was okay. My first, out of my pair, my first one had a little issue with the wheel, but Pioneer, of course, replaced it for me when they got new ones in. So I had them for a year, and then I sold them. And one of the main reasons I sold was I bought the XDJ XZ. I sold my 900 Nexus mixer, and I sold the CDJ 3000s. Thought, you know what? let's go into a more compact form with one screen. And this is a really great system. I really like it. It's only 2 decks on 4 channels. You could plug in, like, my sampler, my DJS 1000. I don't have a picture of that thing up there, but with the AS1 synth, it's got a send on it. It's a good system, except the only problem is it's using the Nexus 2 screen, and the Nexus 2 kind of stuff where limited beat jump of only like beat jump by 8. So it adds some things about it, but it's very much like spinning on a CDJ 2000 Nexus 2 system, except one screen, which is nicer. 3-band EQ is really nice as well, too. The ability to record straight to the stick, that was great. I really like that system. The little Denon DJ Go, I had that amongst everything. I bought it to have a portable system. Really cool, battery powered. You got Wi-Fi. You got all the streaming services on there, which they added to the SC5000s, by the way. That was cool of Denon. They didn't leave the guys of the old gear behind. They updated the stuff. There was a Wi-Fi chip in this thing the whole time, and nobody knew. And then one day, they just unlocked the features to have Wi-Fi and add streaming services. So this thing's nice. The workflow on it, it's a little bit tight. You're not going to be scratch mixing like a mad fool on this thing. It is missing slip mode. That's something I'm really that bothers me. I don't know why they couldn't have slip mode. Effects are still weak in this product line. Screen's kind of nice. It's a little bit dodgy sometimes, the touch screen, to recognize the touch. But other than that, it's great. I just never really used it that much, to be honest. I didn't think I was going to... I thought I was going to do way more outdoor events with this thing, and I really never did. Then we go over to the SC6000s. Really love the 6000s. You know what I mean? Like, bigger screen. You have all the streaming stuff. Just a really nice workflow. They're really great. They work amazing standalone. They work almost even better with Virtual DJ. On Serato, they're kind of okay. Nothing too special. But that's kind of what these guys are. And, of course, I had that running with the X1850 mixer. That mixer, to be honest, effects were weak. It's one of the biggest problems Denon has is weak effects on their stuff. And I had a lot of issues with this 1850 mixer. Not recognizing the players and the order that they're in. There were just a lot of strange things going on all the time. And eventually I ended up selling it. It really wasn't my favorite mixer, to be honest. And you'll see most guys using SC6000s, they're running them with something else. You know what I mean? In a professional setting, you never see it 1850. Was a great sounding mixer. Sounded almost better than the 900 Nexus 2. But once again, it felt a little on the cheap side. It is cheap. It was cheaper, you know what I mean? So hard to compare, but wasn't my favorite. Then we get into that Pioneer Rev 7. Rev 7, still got this thing sitting here. I'm actually going to sell this because I don't really use it. Never got into it that much. It's nice. The wheels, to me, don't feel as accurate feeling as the Ring 1. And I'm missing that picture too, guys. I had a Ring 1 here for a bit that I borrowed. I forgot until I just saw this picture. The Ring 1, the wheels felt better. No built-in hardware effects. The built-in hardware effects of this one here are really cool. It actually has things in it that the S11 doesn't. So I hate that Pioneer does that. You come up with a new product and you almost make a cheaper one better than the more expensive one. But what can I tell you? The wheels are kind of cool looking. They just for scratching. Me personally, it just feels like I'm off. And I'm not a scratch guy. You know what I mean? It just did not feel the same as a 1200 to me or a Ring 1. Then we get into the Prime 4. I don't even know what to tell you about the Prime 4. I really like it. I had it initially for a while, and then it was returned back because it was just a loaner, and then it was loaned to me again. And when I'm mixing on this thing, it's like, it's not perfect by no means. You know what I mean? The effects, once again, are a little bit weak. The build quality, it's not bad. You know what I mean? The one that I'm currently using, it's been, traveled around the world. Lots of people have used it and borrowed it over the years. And it still seems to be pretty solid. You know what I mean? A lot of people do complain online, saying things break, this, that. They're probably hard on their stuff. This is not professional gear. It's prosumer gear. But 4 channels. You can record straight to it. Has all the Wi-Fi streaming capabilities and the workflow. Like, since they did that firmware update on this thing and they put like 4, you can have 4 waveforms on the screen, horizontal or vertical. It's got a really good workflow to it. The line inputs, you can't do any effects on your line inputs because it's all software based on this thing. This is not hardware based effects on this, unlike the 1850. But you don't really need to plug anything in. It's got 4 channels. Like, it just has a really good workflow to it. Then, of course, I got the SC6000s with the M, the motorized version. And you know what? Looks cool. Once again, for scratching, the only thing I don't like is they don't feel exactly the same as a 1200. Once again, this could be fixed with a simple firmware update of just quantize the scratch. You know what I mean? Like, that would help a little bit, because when I use it with Serato, it works fine. You know what I mean? I catch it every time because quantization. So that's my only gripe right there. Other than that, you know, it's the same as an SC6000, except it's motorized and has a bit of a cooler look. Then, of course, I've got that with, oh, that's a picture of a DJM S11. That's my mistake, because I actually have an S11. I guess when I was downloading pictures for this thing, I messed up. No big deal. S11 is a cool mixer, and it's really cool as a standalone. Most people don't use it as standalone. They use it with Serato or virtual DJ or something. I've been using it standalone with my SC6000Ms, and just a bunch of amazing effects that no other mixer has. So that's really cool too. And now I'm going to go back to what I think is my favorite one, the Prime 4. The Prime 4, out of everything I've used, it kind of checks off all the things, you know what I mean? It's compact, it has that adjustable screen, everything's on one screen. Those jog wheels are capacitive, but they have a nice little weight to them. They have a great spin back to them. And the workflow, it's got a great workflow. Some of the effects, like I said, are weak, but then it's got some effects on it that are kind of cool. You know what I mean? The washout effect is cool on it. I like the fact I can record straight to my stick. I love the fact it's got all this streaming services. That's pretty much the main reason. It's got streaming services. It's 4 decks. It's a big screen. The screen's adjustable. You know what I mean? It works well. You know, it's fun to play on. And I just don't know what else more I can say about this thing. Like, you know, I can go over all the things. There's been a million videos done. I've done a bunch of videos on it. I'm just saying, overall, you've seen all the gear. I've got lots of experience. I've played with tons of stuff. And in the end, this one here seems like kind of one of the best overall ones I've used. You know what I mean? I don't know what you guys think. You can leave some comments below. I'm sure there's going to be people, all the Pioneer fanboys are going to flip out. They're going to flip out talking garbage about this thing. Like I said, you can't compare this to, you know, $15,000 worth of club gear sitting in a club. It's not going to take the abuse. It's just not going to do it. If you just need something you want to sit at home mix on, you're a wedding DJ, you do corporate events, you know, you do a small bar, you need something portable that has everything. Like everything. 2 microphones. I can install a hard drive in this thing. I've got an SSD installed in it with a bunch of music on it. You got access to all the Wi-Fi stuff. Like, it just has a bit of everything. So, like it or not, that's my opinion. Feel free to leave some comments. Sorry if this is such a long video. That was not the plan. I'll talk to you all later.